Coming up on Theater Talk.
Let me ask you about doing the front page, though, because it's a big cast, and people are going on and off stage all the time. But I get the sense for the rhythm and the energy of the play to work. When you're not on stage, you still have to be paying attention and to be engaged.
If you stop concentrating for a millisecond, the train is already in Harrisburg.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation.
From New York City, this is Theater Talk.
We're already having fun.
There we go. I'm Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post. Now, there's a terrific revival of a play that's very near and dear to my heart, being a newspaperman, called The Front Page, one of the great American stage comedies. It has a superb cast. There's not a role that is not brilliantly cast, and we are delighted to have three of the standout performers in that show, each one a legend in their own right. Holland Taylor, welcome back to Theater Talk. It's
Thrilled to
always a
be here.
pleasure
Great to see you, Michael.
My old friend, Louis Stadlen, welcome to Theater Talk, Louis.
Thank you for inviting me.
And, a real legend, Robert Morse. Yes. Welcome. First time on Theater Talk.
Oh, yes, of course, because I live in California.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we don't do remotes.
You don't do remote.
That's it. That's it. Welcome all to Theater Talk. All right, so Holland, what did you think when you were approached, I guess, by Scott Rudin, the producer, to do this? It's a long American comedy. It's a long play.
Yes.
Do you think this is kind of an old-fashioned play, or did you see it as something fresh and fun and new to do?
Well, first of all, it was Jack O'Brien who approached me because we are old friends and associates from long ago when he did Cocktail Hour.
Right.
And he presented it to me as what the real temptation was how would you like to be in a true, huge ensemble of remarkable actors like yourself, not sparing the Vaseline, and have a wonderful time in this amazing play, which Tom Stoppard calls the finest American comedy there is.
I didn't know that.
And I thought, well, no, Jack, I don't want to do this. So I mean, how could I resist? I mean, and I looked at the role on paper. I thought, this is really a very, very small role. But the temptation to be in such a group of actors, of which these two are my fave darlings, but there are wonderful actors out there, playing supporting roles happily because everybody leapt to be in this thing for that reason, I think.
Well, Louis, the play stars Nathan Lane, your old pal, and John Slattery. You've worked with Nathan before.
8 times. This is the 8th time I've worked with Nathan.
Oh my God! And you're still standing.
Well, more than that. I mean, it's as good as it gets with Nathan. He's a very, very generous actor.
This play is near and dear to his heart. Nathan has wanted to do this play for a long time, I understand?
I believe so. I know a year ago we went out to dinner, and he said, I'm doing the front page. And I have to tell you, he wrote me the nicest note on opening night, in which he said, you're my lucky charm, and you show people how it should be done. And I thought, gee, that's really a lovely compliment. He said, what part do you want to play? And I said, well, I don't really know the play that well. He said, what about the mayor? And I said, well, I wouldn't cast me as the mayor. That should be a big Irish guy, you know, something like that. And then he came up with this part of Mike Endicott. I read it, and I thought, well, there's not a lot of character delineation here.
Well, you're done with it.
And then I had a scotch, and I thought, oh, yeah, I know who this guy is.
You have the first line in the play.
That's what's just,
yeah.
Crack it for a dime.
That's how we newspapermen talk.
well, it's the beginning of the card game, which is the sort of leitmotif running all through the play.
Exactly. And Robert, now, did Jack O'Brien come to you? Whose idea was it?
No, I appeared with Nathan Lane in a television, the remake of the O.J. trial.
Oh, yeah.
Where I played the writer
Dominic. Dominic Dunn, you were wonderful.
Dunn on
wonderful.
Vanity Fair. This was the first time I had met Nathan, actually.
Wow.
Well, actually it wasn't. I said, Nathan, do you remember back about 30 years ago, you must have been this high, and we were at some award function, and you got up on the dais, saying it right ain't going to help. But anyways, he got up in the dais and said, by the way, thank you for whatever he was doing. And this is 30 years. And I want to really say one of my idols, Robert Morse, is out there. I started to cry. Robert Morse was out with his family, and I just wanted to say hi and how I respect you. And I told him this, and he went, did I say that? He said, yes, he did. Okay, so to make a long story short, we were very friendly during the making of the O.J. story, and about 5 or 6, 2 or 3 months later, I get a call from an agent saying, would you like to do the front page? They're making an offer for you to play the Pincus, the messenger. And I said, gee, that sounds good. And he says, by the way, Nathan is the one that wants you to do it. And I said, I'll do it.
It is such a pleasure to get to see you on stage again. You were in Take Me Along, How to Succeed.
Sugar, Matchmaker.
You are an enormous Broadway
Ruth
star.
Gordon.
What is your first memory of Robert Morse?
My first memory is True. I probably maybe had seen him before that, but that was such a stunning achievement that it sort of took over any other memory.
Oh, True.
When he was playing Truman Capote in
I
one
saw,
person
yes.
Oh my
show.
God, I saw
That was wonderful.
Did you see that, Louis? Did you see his True?
I didn't.
J. Preston Allen, right.
We said
Somebody
that
said-
exactly
I'll
the
get you
same
the
instant.
DVD.
Oh, it's great.
Oh, it was.
I have
great.
it.
It's
Embarrassed that
great.
Yeah, I know
I'll
you
give
do.
it to him.
Oh, he was great. I saw that. It was like 1990 or
And
something.
Booth
Capote,
Theater.
then was very much on the zeitgeist.
Right.
So it was a performance that really resonated culturally as well as just as an actor.
Right.
So it was a really great.
And this lady did a one-lady show, right?
Ann Richards.
Yes.
That's right.
Which was great. And Louis, what was your one-man show?
It was actually, I did do a one-man show.
Oh.
S.J. Perlman.
Yes.
Boom.
Yes.
S.J. Perlman in person, he was called. It was
I
at
got
the
an
Cherry.
idea.
There's nothing.
How about a
more
play
lonely.
about? How about a play about Perlman and
And Richards and Truman Capote. They
There we
all
go.
needed
Take
to
the
talk
picture.
things over.
You've got it right. Let me ask you about doing the front page, though, because it's a big cast, and people are going on and off stage all the time. But I get the sense for the rhythm and the energy of the play to work. When you're not on stage, you still have to be paying attention and to be engaged. Because from the moment you walk on that stage, this play is flying all the time. Is that not true, Louis?
If you stop concentrating for a millisecond, the train is already in Harrisburg. You really have to be on top of it. Now, I must say, it's become kind of hypnotic
Yes.
for me in the first act, which I love. I think the most difficult thing is what these two people have to do, which is to wait, to go on.
Right.
To me, it's very comforting to have that first line. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to be. I mean, it's like the contrast to Anne. When I was with Anne, it was always my turn.
Right.
So, I mean, and also it was hard. It was such hard work and so inspiring that I was never frightened or nervous at all. I was excited sometimes, but in this, it's the wait, because I've likened playing this role to I have 3 scenes, and it's in each case the train is screaming along, an iron locomotive. You jump on it, you try to bowl a strike, you jump off it, trying to save your life, knowing that 20 minutes later you're going to have to jump on it again at exactly the same kind of speed. And my third scene too is at high speed, desperate entrance, and you have to plant yourself and get there and be in the scene and get the hell out of there.
And you have very broad physical comedy.
And well, I'm aided and abetted by
Yes.
2 very big other guys in the show. So this.
Yeah.
But
And
you know, one of the things that's great about it is that we spend so much of our time as actors trying to make something that isn't particularly good better. And this is a situation in which this play is an American masterwork, really, and we have to be as good as the play.
As it.
And that's a really, I think, life-affirming challenge for an actor.
I completely agree, and everybody continues to work, because I hear it. I listen to the play, particularly the first act, which I'm not in. I absolutely listen to it devotedly, and I hear everybody continuing to evolve, to find the better solution to the line, to polish, to find a new attitude. Oh, that makes it really land, and I'm still trying to do that, trying to find how to land that last beat. And you hear everybody working. This one sits, he has his own chair backstage where he sits for long periods of time, because he has 2 incredible scenes that earn him a tremendous hand, both of them. But I see him, and he's definitely listening, because I see him look up to the others if something gets an unusual reaction. He's totally plugged in every moment.
And you're thinking how to upstage them all, how to steal the scene when you walk on?
You know, I hate that expression, stealing. I always have.
That's what he's entitled to.
I don't mean that personally. I've always hated that in reviews where
concept.
someone steals.
Why?
No, I just don't like it. I don't think it sounds like get out of my way, and I'm the most important.
Yes.
You do what you have to do. Now, the writer who reviews you can say he was good in the part, or he's okay in the part, or he was brilliant, or it was funny, or what. But to say it, someone is a scene stealer, I've always I've never liked it. But what were you saying before? What was the question?
We were talking about how when you're not on the play, you've got to be paying attention, because you've got to be in the rhythm of what is happening on stage, even when you're waiting to enter.
Well, I tell you, I enjoy sitting backstage, and in a chair, you know, and right next to the backstage, and hearing people go by me and go on and everything, and I listen to it almost every night. It is a remarkably put together, technical, one thing after another, meaningful for later. And
meaningful for later.
That's why it is one of the classic American plays, maybe, there's 3 or 4 great American plays, and this is one of them. You know, people talk about the first act of this show, and you hear them say, oh, you gotta say short. Now listen, shorten the first act, take out the people can't stand it. Well, they're wrong. You have to establish characters that you see in the second act. If you don't know who those people are in the second act, you'll go, who are they? You have to establish in the first act everything about the reporters, the way they live, the way they talk. You have to be patient. It isn't one of those plays, let's take out a commercial. We'll get it done. Let's cut 12 people. We only want to cast of 7. I can't have 22 people on a stage. This is ridiculous. A play today? That's a musical. Well, this is a musical, in a sense.
The first act not only establishes character, it lays in elements that are plot elements that pay off so incredibly later.
Yes.
People don't realize that the reason why this thing in the second act works so well is because of the 8 places where it was arranged for the first act. And like, for instance, this is a municipal building where the criminal courts are. It's very dingy and huge and monolithic, and a great dark courtyard with light glowing from below. And there's a lot of things that happen down in that courtyard. Things get thrown into it, things get yelled down, yelled up. A lot of stuff happens in that courtyard in that first act. That we have a whole attitude about it, and a whole knowledge about that courtyard that pays off incredibly when something happens in the second act.
That's right.
That has to that moment would not work.
And it's to say that it has great darkness.
Right. Yes, this play has depths, which is one reason why it's so relevant today. People say, oh, surely this was updated because all this. Not updated at all.
Yeah, we're talking about a death penalty case here.
Yeah.
But one of the things I liked about this play, Lewis, being a newspaperman, and I think the first act that you're in established it so well, in the newspaper game, there's a lot of sitting around waiting for something to happen. And you kill time by playing cards, making fun of each other, laughing as a man may go to the gallows. And boy, then when something happens, it's like you've got to run to the phones, get out the newspaper pad, and get to work. That is how the newspaper world works.
Well, Jack O'Brien did a very good job with us. And Jack is especially good when an audience comes to see it. Then he starts, really shaping it. And he said exactly what you said. We're sitting around waiting for something to happen for days, and nothing has happened. Now, for me, I have a kind of a wonderful kind of preparation, because I called Jerry Zaks, who I've done many plays with, and I said, your production, tell me about Endicott. And he thought for a second, and he said, I don't think he's a very happy guy. And then I thought, well, that's not very much. Then 2 weeks into the rehearsal, I thought, yeah, he's not a very happy guy. That's pretty good. I'll ride that one. And so all I really have to do when the curtain goes up is be in a bad mood.
That's how.
And there's great competition.
Yes,
They're trying
right.
to show the fact that all these
Newspaper
reporters
guys
are not. They're in competition with one another to get the right story.
And they're also
everything.
friends.
And they're angry, and
So
they're
it's-
friends, and it's a competitive
And they
event.
and they
in
work
the
for
first
different
act,
kinds of
where
papers.
Right.
They're out to kill each other,
Yeah.
Yeah.
in a sense.
Yeah, they're waiting,
You know?
and they're waiting for somebody to be executed.
And you also hear the flavor of the different kind of reporting they're interested in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether it's light, like Chris McDonald is hard news, and Dylan Baker is more light stuff for family entertainment. I mean,
And
you
Jefferson
see what
Mays
their
over
lives
there.
are like.
And Jefferson works
oh my
for
God.
a very conservative Republican paper, the Tribune.
That's right.
My paper is the Chicago Post, which was a muckraking, very liberal paper.
Right.
So that every single time somebody mentions Bolshevik, that gives me the Bolshevik, you know, because all of good acting is specific.
I have to ask you, it's a poignant play for me, working in the newspaper business, that's falling down around me. Do you get any sense of that this play now is the last gasp of what newspapering was like? I mean, we're all old enough to have grown up reading newspapers, but young people coming to the play don't read a
Very
newspaper
true.
today.
Yes, yes.
But they're still hanging around listening for the news, and that's certainly relevant now. You have those reporters in there, we're taping this before the election, in there competing for the story. That's still
Yes.
very alive.
When you hear him call in his story, he's the one that calls in the most complete story, which is really fun to listen to. You get a sense of what it is like for somebody on the phone on his, Shanks Mayor all over the city trying to gather news, going down to the mayor's office, going here, going there. And you can really get a sense of how hardworking they are and any scrap they can get.
That's
and they
right.
are for scraps for their
Which you can whip into a story or into a headline.
Well, I'll tell you, I went to see How to Succeed again when Broderick did it. And I looked up on the stage and I watched the show and I said to my kids, how the hell did I do that? I have no feeling. If you ask me now, how did I do that? He was never off the stage.
No,
He
that's
sang
what I
20
mean.
numbers, jumped, danced, and I go, it's like I had no reference to it anymore.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
That
no
really
reference
is.
to it. It's a memory, but watching other people do it, I go, I don't want to tell anybody, but
Do you remember working with Bob Fosse doing the choreography?
of course, Bob Fosse would take me, and I'm in the company, and I had to learn the Brotherhood of Man,
Right.
a dance. And I don't get the dance as quick as the dancers do. Dancers, 1, 2, 3, 4, they know the number in
got it.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
But with me, going, I had to learn certain, and then he'd say, Bob Fosse, Bobby, go into the other room with my assistant.
Really?
And I go, okay, and I knock on the door, and there's Gwen Verdon.
So was it
Well, these are the memories I have, and they may not mean anything to anybody, but to me, that's the way it was then. Now I see it and I go, I can't believe I did that.
It was interesting when the producer of your play, Scott Rudin, because it's an old newspaper play, he decided he would have the critics there for the opening night, like the old days.
Right.
Now, we're all people in the theater of a certain age. Do you remember the first time that you got reviewed? Do you remember waiting for that review to come out? Do you remember the opening night thrill or death at Sardi's when you started?
Absolutely. It's the reason when I did Minnie's Boys,
Yes.
which was a great triumph
He
for
was
him.
Groucho.
and I
Bad
walked
mouth.
into Sardi's, and we had run for so long in previews, they didn't have any money left. So instead of there being an opening night party at Sardi's, it was at a Chinese restaurant up the street. All right? But I went to Sardi's, and when I walked in and they started applauding,
Oh, how great.
and from that point on, I am habitually at Sardi's. It's become such an important place to me, and when that restaurant goes, that's it.
Holland, do you remember the first review that you got, good or bad?
I remember I did a show which was Pete Gurney's first play in New York called The David Show in 1965 when I was newly in New York.
Right.
And it got a bad review. Was it Clive Barnes, perhaps?
65,
And and the producer, this is a slender little off-Broadway play, but it was Pete Gurney's first, and Pete Gurney was then a truly original voice.
Yeah.
No one had written like that. And but the producer that pulled this small little show together for an off-Broadway show had absolutely no money, and we closed it that night. And he was completely destroyed emotionally. He closed it that night, but he didn't tell anybody. So
So
we
you went
all
to work?
arrived at the theater the next day. Hello? Hello?
It's really sad.
It was really sad.
Oh, wow.
And it was a review that dismissed Pete Gurney lightly, which was a big mistake, as he is the most produced American playwright
he is.
today.
And Robert, do you remember the night the review came out for How to Succeed in Business? Was it were you at Sardi's? Was the party at Sardi's?
Yeah, so I agree with what's been said here about the fact that the old days you'd walk into Sardi's with your wife and child or whatever, 1960, and people would stand up and applaud as you walked through the main floor. Now today, we had a party at Sardi's for our opening night, and there was 10,000 people there.
Yeah.
And we were shuttled up to the second floor, and people were going like this. And I got to get out of here. You know, I mean, it wasn't like
It ain't
the
like it
old
was.
days where you'd open the front door and it has a charm to it, you know.
And everybody was in a tuxedo.
Yes.
But Michael, when you say the old
People
days,
say,
Yes, please.
the old days,
Please.
everybody the critics had to go the first night.
Yep.
They had to have a visceral reaction to the
Absolutely.
play, and then they had to run home or
Right.
run to the newspaper and
Yep.
write the review. It was not until Frank Rich
Yep.
said, I really want 4 days to write not so much a review as an essay
Yep.
on, so really it was only since the 80s,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
all the critics didn't come. I have to tell you, when we did the Sunshine Boys,
Yeah.
Sam Levine, who was a difficult man who I adored, I loved him, he was a mentor, and they were down on him for, it's too long a story, because he was great. Jack Albertson, on the opening night, when you only had one night to do it, went sky high
Unbelievable.
in the middle of their first big scene. And I was sitting downstairs in what John Slattery, the same theater, Broadhurst, and Sam reeled him in, and then they went for about 5 more minutes, and Jack again
Jesus.
Lost.
You mean lost the lines?
Lost.
Yeah.
didn't know where he was. I mean, he didn't know
In the script.
what play
Yeah.
he was in. And Sam saved the entire performance, and nobody knew, but Sam was the great hero.
Of that.
And it's only recorded in my book,
Tell us the name
All
of
right,
your
well,
book.
Acting Foolish.
Now, before
His
we
book is
stop,
wonderful.
I want to ask Robert Morse. I first saw you many years ago when you were in Take Me Along with Jackie Gleason.
that's correct.
And there was a very troubled relationship between the producer David Merrick and Jackie Gleason. What was the trouble with Jackie Gleason?
He didn't want me to have as big a part.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Take Me Along was about the boy.
Yeah.
It's our wilderness.
Our wilderness, yeah.
Not my fault.
Yes.
It's Eugene O'Neill's problem.
The audience is going, oh, tears. Walter Pigeon hugging me. And, as you get older, and I am older, I'll say, what's it feel like to get older? And I remember Noel Coward reading it or saying, breakfasts come a little faster now. So anyways, yes, they did have a problem. And going out of town, they cut my part and put more in, and I'm not going to worry about it. But that was just the case. It wasn't about Jackie Gleason, Take Me Along, Uncle Sid.
Yes.
It's a wonderful Uncle Sid. He's drunk and supposed to be, and Eileen Hurley is the aunt, and they're always at each other, but it's the boy.
Are the rumors about Jackie Gleason drinking all the time true?
Rumors. I love Jackie, by the way.
Yes.
He was a great actor.
Great actor.
Fabulous actor.
Great
But I must say, I don't know how actors go on the stage drunk. And I've worked with a couple of people that have done that. Jackie Gleason would drink every night. And I think most of the nights he was absolutely under. And I never could understand, personally, how you could go on the stage drunk.
Did that put a
Once
strain?
during How to Succeed.
Yeah.
At a matinee, I had 2 martinis. Went back to the theater. This is 2 years. I'm talking about one little matinee between. and I had a couple at Jim Downey's, and had a couple of martinis. Went back to the theater. I was absolutely paranoid,
Yeah.
scared. Got on the stage, looked at people. They all know. I don't know how I got through that show. So when I think of Jackie Gleason, I don't know how they do it.
I
had
have
the
to
same
Now, there were a
experience
lot
with
of
wine.
people that know alcoholic actors. You all
I don't know how
some
they do it.
names. I don't
Richard
know.
Burton.
Oh my God.
How did he do it?
You had-
Hamlet.
There's a great
Robert
story.
Stevens
What?
in London.
There's a great story about Take Me Along, which may be apocryphal, but my father was an actor, and he wanted, his name was Alan Swift, and he wanted me to have some sort of an understanding about the business. And the story was that David Merrick and Jack Schlissel, who was his general manager,
Jack Schlissel.
went into Jackie Gleason's dressing room at the Schubert, and they got into a terrible argument, and Jackie Gleason decked David Merrick. And as they were carrying out David Merrick, he turned to Jack Schlissel and said, "That son of a bitch, I'll never hire him again unless I need him."
And that is the theater.
That absolutely tells the tale.
That's right. But if you want to see how great the theater can be, how great an American comedy the front page is, don't miss it at the Broadhurst, starring Louis Stadlen, Holland Taylor, and Robert Morse.
Thank you.
And they're supported by these guys no one's ever heard of, Nathan Lane and John Slattery, but they're immaterial.
And 20 other
John Goodman.
20 other actors. Everyone has a face will be instantly recognized.
Yes.
It's quite a
It's a
company.
great cast. Don't miss it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you.
was great.
Oh, you
Let's
guys are
just
easy.
stay here.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Loewe Foundation, the CORY and Bob Donnelly Charitable Fund, the Noel Coward Foundation, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy STRELSIN Foundation, and the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you